wanna go running, running, out of breath, out of reach, out of time. That line gets me every time. Like, so when I had COVID, you know me. Whenever I think about one thing, well, you're kind of like this too, actually. Whenever I think about one thing, as you would say, it rabbit trails into
It's true.
a lot of other things. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You're kind of we're alike in a lot of ways, but I had COVID. I didn't think I was gonna die, but that was just because I feel like I'm the protagonist of my story. But for real, I probably felt like, yo, this could be a problem. Like, this is dangerous. I might die. And it made me think about, though, am I actually spending the time that I need with my family? That's why I like that last line. Out of breath, yeah, I could die from COVID. But also I could get so trapped in my head with the fear of dying that I could also just be out of reach and run out of time. When I was a kid, I was 6 years old. My dad left the house. And I was sitting at the top of the stairs, and Dad was getting ready to go, and I was crying at the top of the stairs, and I was like, Dad, don't go. I was saying all that type of stuff, you know. And Dad was like, if I walk out of this house, I ain't never coming back. Mom did not run down to help him. I'm pretty sure she had just had glass cracked over her head at that time. And so she was literally recovering. And he was like, oh, you ain't gonna come get me? All right. And he walks out the door. And it's like I was sitting at the top of the stairs just crying because I was like, I can't get to him. I can't get to him. And he never came back. He never came back to the house again. Never came back to the house again. And like when I heard Legacy, because we had to quarantine when I got COVID, and I had to go downstairs, and I had to walk past her, you know, at least that first day, because I didn't have anything down there. So I had to walk past her with my mask on and not let her see me. And she's like crying, like, why can't I be with Daddy? It broke my heart, like, because she was crying. And I kept flashing back to being at the top of the stairs and crying for my daddy and him not being able to come. And then I was like, I feel like I'm my dad right now. Like I've left my daughter. And I was afraid. Like I was like, I don't even want to say something to her because if I say something to her, it just makes it worse. She might come down here. And if she comes down here, she could die. She could get sick and die. And now I'm like, I feel like I have to kill her either way. Like either I have to put her through the same pain that I went through, or I have to bring her down here and risk her physical health. And like, man, I just sat there at the bottom of the stairs and just bawled. I just bawled. Like, that was hard. And we're on Christmas break, so all the kids are home all the time, and I couldn't do anything. And so I'm just hearing you up there stress out. I'm hearing the babies. I know they don't understand. I know the older girls, they got their own trauma and stuff that they're dealing with. And so I know they're going to process this how they process it. So it's just Russian roulette on whether or not they're going to blow up. And I'm like, I can't do anything. I just have to sit here and listen and watch. But I'm interested to see. How you
feel. What's crazy to me is like, I didn't know. I mean, I guess we were separated, so it's really not that crazy. But it's like I didn't know just how bad you were feeling until I heard this song.
Oh, wow.
Because, like, we briefly talked, you know, obviously afterwards and, like, whatnot. But we didn't get into all of this. Like,
because y'all caught COVID.
Yeah.
So when we came out, we were still in emergency mode because the only reason I got to come up from the basement is because everyone else got COVID. Yeah. So now we're trying to take care of sick kids.
This song really hit me, though, because I didn't know you were this stressed out. I mean, obviously, I assumed you were not feeling great, right? But, like, hearing how you were really feeling, I remember being, like, kind of shocked when I heard this song. And I feel like also in this song, it just adds to it that you were actually sick when you recorded it.
Yeah, so. Yeah. It's actually my COVID cough voice on the record. Yeah.
And so it definitely made me feel some type of way. it's actually funny because, like, thinking about it now as you're talking through stuff more, I'm like, I remember feeling like, oh, like, almost like you didn't care that you had a quarantine. Like, it was almost like a break for you, know what I mean? Like, and I don't remember exactly what I felt, but I do remember when you came upstairs, like, after I texted you and I was like, well, like, text you a screenshot of the test when I tested positive. I remember you coming up like all excited. Like,
I was like, I don't want you to have COVID, but I kind of want you to have COVID.
Like, just excited because they were like, okay, well, now I can come upstairs with everybody else. Because now it doesn't really matter as much.
Right.
And so, like, I remember that actually, like, making me realize a little bit of how you were feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely did not get this until hearing this song.
That's crazy. And I think that's something that's part of how I am. I don't want to say it's who I am. I think it's a part of how I am, and it's probably some stuff that I just need to work through. But the music helps, and I think my mom got that. That's one of the things that she always said, this is an outlet for you. You need it. And I didn't realize it, but I think she did. Even though she didn't like the style of music I was making, who I was hanging out with, I think she realized how important this was for me, which moms do that, right? Like, they do that. They're smart. That's why they're moms. But it's
Thank you very much.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're really smart. You're really smart. You're my favorite mom. But don't let my mom see this. But like, it reminded me of, we kind of have a pact. We don't talk a whole lot about exes. So not to talk specifically about people, but this is a story that you know about when I almost had my first job, and that we lost that baby, right? We lost that baby. I wrote a song about it. It was to Heard Him Say, Kanye West Heard Him Say. Wrote a song about it and how I was feeling. To me, I had communicated my feelings very clearly about how I felt, because I probably said the words, this is how I feel. But when the mother of that child, when she heard it, she was like, I never thought you cared that I just had, a miscarriage and that these things happen. And I'm like, what do you mean? Of course I care. Like, but it's like, I probably didn't show it very well. And it's like, she was like, when I heard the song, I was like, well, what the crap? Like, I never know that you felt this way. And it's like, I think that's kind of a thing with me. It's like, I'm not very good, especially if it's got a lot of pain in it. I don't think I'm very good at it. I don't know if it's admitting, but communicating how I feel when I'm really struggling. And like, the most I can usually do is like, I'm struggling. That's all I can say. Like, I can't go deep, and I don't know why, but I can't.
I think part of that is like, which you told me this, which is why I'm saying this, but like, part of it is how you expect other people to like feel similarly or to know. Sometimes it's like, like it's almost like a while back you were telling me, I guess it's been a little while now, but you were telling me about just different things that were hard at work. And like, later on we talked about it, and you basically told me like, I don't think you really understand, how hard this is. But as we work through it, over the course of time, is like, you expected me to feel that, like, to understand, because you were so deep in it and stuff. And it's almost like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, I feel like you're very much like, oh, well, this is how I think about it, or how I feel. Like, that's probably how they feel, or they can see that I feel that way, or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think there's another layer to that too, which is the disconnect for me, is that often I know they don't, because I'm really observant of people, and like, I make a lot of, like I said, kind of assumptions, but I'm pretty good at it. I'm pretty accurate of like picking up. I just observe people a lot, so I'm able to pick up a lot of kind of what they're doing, what they're saying, and where they're at. And it's like, most of my life I've been like this, is it's like, okay, I'm feeling this and I'm close to you. So I hope you could see that. But I quickly realized they don't. And in the past, I've gotten better at this, but in the past, the cycle, the pattern has been, it makes me feel very lonely because I can't communicate how I feel, and I know they don't understand how I feel. And so it's like, I think it starts out as like, I expect people to see, but I don't ever stay there. I think I go to this place of like, I know they don't understand how it is, but I don't know how to tell them. Like, I don't know how to tell them I feel lonely or that I feel trapped or that I feel lost, and actually communicate it. It's one thing to say those words. It's another thing for people to feel it. And it's almost impossible for someone to see that you feel helpless without communicating that you're helpless. And if I'm like in NAMI, if it's like, I can't admit that I'm helpless, but I do need help, it's impossible to communicate both things. It's impossible to be self-sustaining and helpless at the same time. So I got to communicate one or the other. And so I may say I'm helpless, but in my body language, in the way that I communicate, in the way that I show, I'm communicating, I'm self-sustaining. I'm all right. I'll be all right. And so it's like, it makes this disconnect where people are like, I mean, he said he's all right. He's probably fine. And I'm like, no, I'm drowning. And I told you I'm drowning. And they're like, yeah, but then you went off and just did it by yourself and you said you were good. And it's like, but, and it feels like the songs are the only place that I can truly be myself and be free, because I just can't say it sometimes.